Victoria Sterling stood in her $1,000 heels, staring at the massive engine that had just destroyed her company's biggest deal. Oil dripped from twisted metal like black tears. Her board members whispered behind her, their faces pale with worry. "Ma'am, we've tried everything," said her head engineer, wiping sweat from his forehead. "This prototype is completely dead. The Parker Industries contract is gone. We're finished." Victoria's jaw tightened. Sterling Tech had spent 3 years building this revolutionary engine. Now, with 20 minutes until the biggest presentation of her life, it lay broken beyond repair. That's when she noticed him. A young black man in dirty overalls knelt beside the engine, running his fingers along the twisted pipes. He couldn't be older than 25. His clothes were stained with grease, and his sneakers had holes in them. "Excuse me," Victoria snapped, her voice cutting to the workshop like a blade. "This is a private area. You don't belong here." The young man looked up. His eyes were calm, focused. "I'm Marcus. I work in the maintenance department downstairs. I heard the commotion and came to help." Victoria's assistant, Jennifer, whispered urgently in her ear, "That's Marcus Johnson. He's just a janitor who fixes broken air conditioners." A cruel smile spread across Victoria's face. The stress, the fear, the years of fighting to prove herself in a man's world. It all exploded into something ugly. "You!" she laughed, her voice echoing off the walls. "A janitor thinks he can fix what my team of Harvard engineers couldn't?" Marcus stood slowly, his hands steady despite the insult. Sometimes fresh eyes see what others miss. Victoria's laugh grew louder, more vicious. Her board members shifted uncomfortably, but she didn't care. The rage felt good. "Fine," she said, her voice dripping with mockery. "Here's a deal for you, janitor boy. Fix this engine, this impossible, completely destroyed engine, and I'll marry you." The workshop fell silent. Jennifer gasped. Even Victoria's coldest board members looked shocked. Marcus met her eyes without flinching. "And if I can't fix it, then you're fired. Security will escort you out, and you'll never work in this industry again." The young man nodded slowly. He walked to the engine, placed both hands on its broken surface, and said 5 words that would change everything. "Give me 1 hour. But what Victoria didn't know was that Marcus Johnson wasn't just any janitor, and the engine he was about to fix would reveal a secret that would shake Sterling Tech to its very core. 1 hour earlier, Marcus had been mopping floors in the basement of Sterling Tech, just like he had every night for 6 months. But unlike other janitors, Marcus carried something special in his pocket. A worn notebook filled with engine designs that would make NASA engineers jealous. He wasn't supposed to be cleaning toilets. He was supposed to be changing the world. 3 years ago, Marcus Johnson had been the youngest student ever accepted into MIT's engineering program. His professors call him a once-in-a-generation genius. His inventions were so advanced that tech companies fought wars trying to hire him. But then his mother got sick. Cancer ate through their family savings faster than Marcus could earn scholarships. He dropped out of MIT with only 6 months left before graduation. He sold everything, his car, his books, even his father's watch, to pay for her treatments. When she died anyway, Marcus was left with nothing but debt and a broken heart. That's how the boy who once designed engines for Mars rovers ended up pushing a mop through Sterling Tech's hallways. But Marcus never stopped learning. Every night after work, he snuck into the company's technical library. He read every manual, studied every blueprint, memorized every patent. He knew Sterling Tech systems better than the engineers who built them. And he knew something else too, something that would change everything. 6 months ago, while cleaning Victoria Sterling's office, he had seen the classified blueprints for the Parker Industries project. The engine design was brilliant, but it had one fatal flaw that no one had noticed. Marcus had tried to report it through proper channels. He filled out forms, sent emails, even tried to speak directly to supervisors. But who listens to a janitor? Now, as he knelt beside the broken engine, Marcus felt every eye in the room watching him. Victoria's cruel laughter still echoed in his ears. Her board members whispered about the crazy cleaning boy. But Marcus wasn't angry. He was focused. He opened his toolkit. Not the fancy equipment the engineers use, but simple, basic tools that his father had taught him to use in their garage years ago. "What's he doing?" whispered one board member. "Making a fool of himself," Victoria replied coldly. But Jennifer, Victoria's assistant, watched with growing amazement. Marcus moved around the engine like he'd built it himself. His hands found problems in seconds that the engineering team had missed for hours. "This isn't random," Jennifer whispered to herself. "He knows exactly what he's doing." Marcus worked in perfect silence. He didn't ask for help. He didn't need fancy computers or diagnostic equipment. He just worked, his movements smooth and confident. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Victoria checked her watch nervously. The Parker Industries representatives would arrive soon. If this failed, her company would be ruined. But if this janitor somehow succeeded... Suddenly, Marcus stood up and wiped his hands on his overalls. "It's done," he said quietly. Victoria laughed harshly. "Done? You've been playing with pipes for 30 minutes. That engine needs a complete rebuild." Marcus looked directly into her eyes. "Try starting it." Victoria's face went white, because deep down, something in his voice made her believe that maybe, just maybe, he had actually done the impossible. Victoria's hand trembled as she reached for the ignition switch. The entire room held its breath. Board members leaned forward. Engineers whispered prayers. Even the security guards at the door stopped talking. This was it. Everything Sterling Tech had worked for came down to this single moment. Victoria pressed a button. Nothing. Silence. Victoria's cruel smile returned. "I knew it. You're just a... roar." The engine exploded to life with a sound like thunder. But this wasn't the rough, choppy noise it had made before. This was smooth, powerful, perfect. The entire workshop vibrated with clean, incredible power. Victoria stumbled backward, her mouth hanging open. Her chief engineer ran to computer displays, his eyes wide with shock. "This is impossible," he shouted over the engine's roar. "The power output is 300% higher than our original design. The efficiency ratings are off the charts." But Marcus wasn't done. He walked to a small panel that no one else had even noticed and made one tiny adjustment. Suddenly, the engine's roar became a whisper. It was running at full power, but making almost no noise at all. "How?" Victoria whispered, staring at Marcus like he was some kind of magician. Marcus wiped his hands on his overalls and looked her straight in the eye. "You used the wrong coupling system. The vibration patterns were fighting each other, creating stress fractures. I realigned the harmonic frequency and reinforced the weak points with a cross-bracing pattern that distributes the load evenly." The chief engineer's jaw dropped. That's graduate-level mechanical engineering. Where did you learn that?" Before Marcus could answer, Jennifer burst through the workshop doors. "Victoria," she gasped, "the Parker Industries team is here. They're asking to see the demonstration right now." Victoria's world spun. The biggest deal in company history was walking through her doors, and her miracle engine was running perfectly. But it had been fixed by a janitor she had just publicly humiliated. The board members were staring at her, waiting for orders. The Parker Industries team would be in the workshop within minutes. And Marcus Johnson stood quietly beside the purring engine, his dark eyes calm and patient. "What do we do?" whispered her chief financial officer. Victoria's mind raced. She could claim credit for the fix. She could say her team had solved the problem. She could pretend Marcus had nothing to do with it. But then Marcus spoke, his voice cutting through her thoughts like a knife. "Ms. Sterling," he said quietly, "I believe you made me a promise." The workshop fell silent again. Everyone remembered her cruel words. "Fix this engine and I'll marry you." Victoria's face burned with embarrassment and rage. How dare this janitor remind her of that ridiculous statement in front of her entire team? But before she could respond, the workshop doors opened again. 3 people in expensive suits walked in, the Parker Industries executives. They looked around the workshop with sharp, calculating eyes. "Ms. Sterling," said the lead executive, a tall woman with silver hair, "we're ready for the demonstration. I hope you have good news for us." Victoria forced a smile. "Of course. Our engine is running perfectly." The silver-haired woman nodded and walked straight to Marcus. "And you are—" Victoria opened her mouth to dismiss him, but Marcus spoke first. "Marcus Johnson, ma'am. I'm the one who fixed your engine." The Parker Industries executive raised an eyebrow. Then she did something that made Victoria's blood run cold. She smiled and reached into her briefcase. The Parker Industries executive pulled out a thick folder and opened it slowly. Her eyes never left Marcus's face. "Marcus Johnson," she said, her voice filled with recognition. "MIT dropout, son of Master Sergeant David Johnson, former top student in advanced mechanical engineering." Victoria felt the floor drop beneath her feet. Her board members exchanged shocked glances. How did this woman know Marcus? "I'm Dr. Sarah Chun," the executive continued. "I was your professor at MIT before you disappeared 3 years ago." Marcus's calm mask finally cracked. His eyes widened with surprise and something that looked like pain. "Professor Chin? But you worked at MIT, not Parker Industries." Dr. Chin smiled sadly. "I left MIT 6 months after you dropped out. Your departure broke my heart, Marcus. You were the most brilliant student I'd ever taught. When I heard you'd vanished, I spent 2 years trying to find you." Victoria's world was crumbling. This wasn't just some random janitor. This was a genius that MIT professors had been hunting for years. "But how did you know he was here?" Victoria asked weakly. Dr. Chen's expression turned cold as she looked at Victoria. "Because I've been tracking every patent application, every engineering job posting, every technical paper published in the last 3 years. Marcus's fingerprints are all over them." She opened the folder wider, revealing dozens of documents. The revolutionary turbine design that made Johnson Aerospace millions? That was based on Marcus's undergraduate thesis. The breakthrough cooling system that saved Tesla's new battery project? Marcus posted that solution anonymously on an engineering forum. The disaster prevention algorithm that stopped the Texas refinery explosion last month? Marcus again. Marcus stared at the papers, his face filled with shock. "I don't understand. Those were just ideas I shared online. I never thought—" "You never thought anyone was paying attention," Dr. Chin finished. "But the entire engineering world has been following the mysterious genius who posts solutions to impossible problems and then disappears." Victoria's chief engineer stepped forward, his voice shaking. "You mean our janitor has been secretly solving engineering problems for major corporations?" Dr. Chin nodded. "For 3 years, Marcus Johnson has been the ghost inventor behind some of the biggest technological breakthroughs of our time. Companies have been desperate to find him." She turned back to Marcus, her voice gentle now. "That's why I'm here, Marcus. Not for Sterling Tech's engine. For you." Victoria finally found her voice. "What do you mean?" Dr. Chen's smile was sharp as a blade. "Parker Industries doesn't want to buy Sterling Tech's engine. We want to hire the man who just made it better than your entire engineering team ever could." She pulled out a contract from her folder. "Marcus, I'm offering you a position as Chief Innovation Officer at Parker Industries. Starting salary, $2 million per year. Full research budget. Your own team. And a chance to finish what you started at MIT." The workshop fell silent, except for the gentle hum of the perfect engine. Marcus stared at the contract, then at Victoria, then at Dr. Chun. "There's just one problem," he said quietly. Everyone leaned forward. Marcus looked directly at Victoria, his eyes steady and calm. "Miss Sterling made me a promise in front of all these witnesses. She said if I fixed this engine, she would marry me." Victoria's face went white with horror. "That was just a joke. I didn't mean—" "A promise is a promise," Marcus interrupted, "especially when it's made in front of a room full of people." Dr. Chin raised an eyebrow and looked at Victoria with amusement. "Is that true, Miss Sterling? Did you really promise to marry this brilliant young man if he fixed your engine?" Victoria opened and closed her mouth like a fish, unable to speak. Marcus stepped closer to her, holding the $2 million contract in one hand. "So here's my question, Victoria Sterling," he said, his voice carrying a power that made everyone in the room listen. "Are you a woman of your word?" The room held its breath as Victoria realized that her cruel joke had become the most important decision of her life. Victoria Sterling had never been speechless in her life. She'd faced down hostile boardrooms, brutal negotiations, and corporate sharks who tried to destroy her company. But standing in that workshop, with Marcus Johnson's calm eyes staring into hers, she had no words. The silence stretched on. Her board members shifted nervously. Dr. Chen watched with fascination, and Marcus waited, patient as stone. Finally, Victoria's pride kicked in. The same pride that had built Sterling Tech from nothing. The same pride that made her fight twice as hard as any man to earn respect in the business world. "You can't be serious," she said, her voice shaking with anger. That was obviously a joke. No one makes real marriage proposals over fixing engines. Marcus nodded slowly. "You're right. It was a joke. A cruel joke meant to humiliate me in front of everyone." He walked closer, and Victoria instinctively stepped back. "But here's what you don't understand, Victoria Sterling. When you make promises to hurt people, sometimes those promises come back to change your life." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "Marcus, you don't have to do this. Take the Parker Industries job and walk away. You've already proven your point." But Marcus shook his head. "No, Professor. This isn't about proving points. It's about showing what happens when people use their power to crush others." He turned back to Victoria. "I'm not going to force you to marry me. That would make me just as cruel as you, but I'm going to make you choose." Marcus held up the Parker Industries contract. "Here's option 1. I take this job, leave Sterling Tech, and in 6 months, Parker Industries releases an engine that makes yours look like a broken toy. Your company dies, your employees lose their jobs, and you lose everything you built." Victoria's face went pale. She knew he was right. If Marcus left and worked for her competitors, Sterling Tech was finished. "Or," Marcus continued, "you can honor your promise. Marry me, not because you love me, but because you gave your word. And in return, I'll stay at Sterling Tech. I'll help you build engines that will revolutionize the industry. I'll turn your company into the most powerful tech corporation in the world." Dr. Chen's eyes widened. "Marcus, you're giving up $2 million and the chance to work with unlimited resources." Marcus smiled sadly. "Professor, I've spent 3 years watching brilliant ideas get wasted because people with power refuse to listen to people without it. Victoria Sterling is cruel and proud, but she's also brilliant. If she can learn to see people as more than their job titles, she could change the world." He looked back at Victoria. "But it requires her to admit she was wrong. To marry a janitor she mocked. To trust a genius she tried to humiliate." Victoria's mind raced. Everything Marcus said was true. If he left, her company was doomed. If he stayed, she could build an empire. But the price was her pride. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you help me after what I did to you?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "Because my mother taught me that people aren't their worst moments. She taught me that everyone deserves a chance to be better than they were yesterday." Tears filled Victoria's eyes. She thought about her company, her employees, her life's work. Then she thought about the young man who had saved it all after she tried to destroy his dignity. Slowly, Victoria Sterling got down on one knee. The entire room gasped. "Marcus Johnson," she said, her voice breaking, "I was cruel, wrong, and stupid. You are brilliant, kind, and stronger than I ever imagined. I don't deserve your forgiveness. But will you marry me?" Marcus stared down at her, this proud, powerful woman kneeling before the janitor she had mocked. Then he did something no one expected. He got down on one knee, too. "Victoria Sterling," he said gently, "I will marry you, not because of your promise, but because I believe you can become the person your employees need you to be, the person your mother will be proud of." They knelt there together, two brilliant, broken people who had found each other in the most impossible way. Dr. Chen wiped tears from her eyes. "Well," she said, "I guess Parker Industries will have to find another chief innovation officer." Marcus stood and helped Victoria to her feet. "Actually, Professor, I have a better idea. What if Parker Industries and Sterling Tech became partners instead of competitors?" As the newly engaged couple shook hands with Dr. Chun to discuss their revolutionary partnership, no one noticed the small miracle happening around them. The board members were smiling. The engineers were cheering. Even the security guard were clapping. Because sometimes, when cruel jokes become beautiful promises, everyone wins. 6 months later, Marcus and Victoria's wedding made headlines around the world. Not because the CEO married a former janitor, but because their combined genius had created technology that would change everything. And in her wedding speech, Victoria Sterling said 5 words that will be remembered forever. Love sees what pride misses. Like this story of Marcus and Victoria's journey touched your heart? Asterisk, asterisk. Comment below. Have you ever judged someone too quickly, only to discover they were amazing? Share your story. Asterisk, asterisk. Subscribe for more inspiring stories that prove love and kindness can triumph over prejudice and pride.